All right. Hey, welcome everybody. My name's C.H.Smith. I write young adult fantasy. We're going to be reading a little bit today from book one of a series, The Dragon's Honor. The book is entitled Nothing More Than Zero. It's my second book I've published. The first being The Princess Knight. And the main character from Nothing More Than Zero and the entire series was present in The Princess Knight towards the end, and he kind of left without having any idea of where he went. And we pick up right there at the beginning of chapter one. And if you'll look back, I have done a live reading of chapter 1 through 4. But we're going to kind of pick up right at the end because book two, this is book one, Nothing More Than Zero. Book two came out last month. And I want you to get hooked on it and get ready to read it. So we're going to read the last few chapters of Nothing More Than Zero and see where it takes us. So leading up to it, Jackson, the main character, and his dragon Zero have stumbled upon a group that are mistreating dragons and have a dragon trapped. And with the help of a few of his friends, they're going to try to release that dragon and go from there. Jackson, chapter 37. Jackson thought back to the last time he had seen his father. The early spring dew was on the grass as the sun crested over the Dragonspine Mountains. There was a chill in the air that warned that winter may have one more storm to send their way. They were outside the cabin, and his father was dressed for traveling. It had been a great 3 months, but like always, his dad had a job that needed doing. Jackson sat on the big rock beside the cabin with Zero right behind him and watched his dad disappear along the path that led west into the Crystal Forge. Now, here he was, right in front of him. Just as Jackson had agreed the search was less important than the life of the captured dragon, his father had appeared. But he was wearing the uniform of the demon lizard death cult. Something gnawed at the back of Jackson's mind. "Jackson, you can't be here," said Alan. Then he noticed Zero near the gate. "For all the tiny god's tears, Zero's here too? Out, now. Even I can't protect you here." Tam stepped forward. "It's him, the one I told you about. He's their leader." Jackson looked back and forth between his dad and Tam. His mouth hung open and his eyes lost focus. "What the—" "It doesn't matter now," said Alan. "You have to go, all of you." Alira didn't have to be told again. Quickly, she was on Soren's back, and they disappeared out of the gate. Jackson saw the purple dragon rising and banking to the east. Tam stepped in between Jackson and his father. "Jackson, get on Zero and get out of here. We have what we came for," he said, pulling out his short sword. "Listen to your friend," said Alan. Jackson started to object, but Tam pushed him toward Zero. The dragon nudged him gently with his head, and Jackson climbed into the harness just as a score of soldiers broke down the door. Alan's eyes widened as he saw them stream into the room. He shouted, "Rebels! They released the dragon. Take them alive. I'll have questions for them." Zero didn't give them a chance. He was through the gate and in the air before the soldiers took another step. Jackson looked back over his shoulder to see Tam surrounded, his sword still ready. He feared his friend wouldn't be taken without a fight. The next moment, they were too high to see Tam any longer. Jackson scanned the skies for signs of Alira and Soren. Then it struck him that Alira and Soren were like Zero and him. He didn't know how it happened, but it was true. But in the darkness, he couldn't see them any longer. Dragon's fire lit the sky to the west. Dranoxius and Tolleson were still causing a ruckus. Jackson thought he caught a glimpse of the purple dragon headed south, away from the city. He hoped it was Alira and Soren escaping, even if it was in the wrong direction. "Stick to the plan. Circle wide over the Laguza and head back to Mount Fornisser," said Jackson. Zero didn't respond right away. He simply flew faster and higher away from the keep. "Perhaps Alira is going to circle to the mount from the south," said Zero. "Maybe. More than likely. She'll go wherever Soren leads her." "It's what I would do in her place," replied Jackson. "Do you want to talk about your father?" asked Zero. "Yes, but not now. We need to get somewhere safe." They flew farther north than they had ever been, through the night and into the early morning sun. Somewhere over the Laguza Sea, when Jackson thought they were in the clear, Blackthorn and his rider Grayton crashed into them hard. Zero tumbled towards the sea. Chapter 38. Zero tumbled towards the sea. Jackson gripped the harness with every bit of strength he possessed, and even that was barely enough. Just before splashing down into the sea, Zero righted himself. and flew straight across the surface of the water, gaining altitude with each beat of his wings. As he reached for his bow, Jackson spotted Blackthorn high above them, keeping pace. He nocked an arrow, and Zero banked hard right. The Blackthorn shifted, then dove towards Zero once again. This time, however, Jackson warned Zero, who was able to turn away without taking the full impact of the Black Dragon's strike. Still, he took a mighty blow just behind his rear legs. Blackthorn was above them again in moments. Each time Zero veered one way or the other, their enemy mirrored him. The islands in the distance were too far away to be any help. There was no cover over the flat water. "We have to change this up. We're at his mercy down here," shouted Jackson. "Take the shot at Grayton this time. Whatever happens, take the shot, and do not miss," said Zero. He angled towards the islands and slowed down, feigning a more severe injury than he actually had. Blackthorn dove, but stopped short of impact and flew directly above them, just out of bow range. Grayton's head appeared over the Black Dragon's shoulder, smiled wickedly, and yelled, "I see you, boy. Nowhere to run now." Just as his laughter reached Jackson, Blackthorn dove sharply. Zero waited until the last possible moment, then turned and flew straight up, exposing his vulnerable underbelly, but giving Jackson a clear shot. The arrow was at Jackson's ear and released before he even realized it. A scream of pain from Grayton let Jackson know he was on the target but had missed a fatal shot. Blackthorn abandoned the attack and whirled away. Jackson let out a whoop as the bounty hunter retreated. "I need to rest," said Zero. "Head for the islands. I think we bought ourselves some time," said Jackson. From the top of the ruined tower on the deserted island, Jackson and Zero had a commanding view in all directions. No one would be able to approach without being seen. It gave them time to address Zero's wound and make a new plan. "What's next?" asked Jackson as he cleaned the last of the blood from Zero's back. "Perhaps Alira or Draenoxius have already arrived at Mount Fornicer. We should go there as the original plan dictated." "That's one option," said Jackson. "But we need to find a way to get Tam out. There's no way he could have fought his way through all those soldiers. He was definitely captured, or worse. If he was captured, he may have revealed our destination. The mount may not be the best place to go." Zero gestured with his head, indicating for Jackson to look back in the direction from which they had come. Dragons were flying directly above the water, slowly weaving back and forth. They were searching for Zero and him. Grayton must have told them of Zero's injury. "How many do you count?" "There are 3 searching the water and 1 well above," replied Zero. "It might be Blackthorn, though I cannot be sure at this distance." Jackson sighed. He didn't want to leave, even though that was the safest course of action. It would mean going away from Tam, his only friend. Away from Alira and Soren, a pair like him and Zero. Away from his father he had sought for so long. Away from the only connections he had in life, other than Zero. He simply had no idea what to do next. "What do we do now?" A familiar voice came from behind him. "First, I think you need to tell me exactly what happened." Both Jackson and Zero started violently before turning to see Draenoxius standing near the edge of the ruins. "Where did you come from?" Chapter 39. "Are you hurt?" "No. Good. Let's have a look at Zero then, shall we?" Draenoxius wasted little time in assessing the wound on Zero's back. Jackson had cleaned it well, and the old man gave him a nod of approval. "It's so frustrating that we can heal others but not ourselves," said Jackson. Draenoxius raised an eyebrow, and Jackson shrugged. "I do have some secrets, you know." Draenoxius snorted. "Not as many as you might think. Now tell me what happened." Jackson launched into the tale of the daring rescue the previous night. He left nothing out. When he recounted the part about Alira and Soren, Draenoxius interrupted, guessing what had happened next. The old man appeared very excited that Alira had bonded with the dragon, but he didn't seem surprised. Then Jackson had to tell the part about his dad's betrayal. His eyes burned and his stomach rolled violently as if the rabbit was hopping around in there. Draenoxius allowed Jackson to release all his pent-up emotions, then pulled him into a strong embrace as Jackson sobbed. Suddenly, Jackson remembered the dragons and the bounty hunters that were searching for them. He pushed himself away from Draenoxius and searched the skies. "What are you looking for, Jackson?" asked the old man. "We saw some dragons searching for us just before you showed up," replied Jackson. "I just don't want to be surprised again." "They are gone." "How do you know?" asked Jackson with a frown. "Because I told the dragons they needed to search elsewhere," replied Draenoxius. "So they did." After some hesitation, Jackson stammered, "Who are you, really? I know you're my dad's friend, but who are you?" Perhaps it is time, you know. You're going to be stronger and more important than me soon anyway, said Draenoxius. I'm the last remaining wizard of Griti. I have long awaited the day that dragon riders once more ruled the skies with might and magic. Finally, the day is near. Who I am is not as important as who you will become, Dragon Rider Jackson. The epilogue. Zero stood beside Jackson as they looked into the portal within the Temple of Greedy inside the Tufan. The ancient dragon, Forseti, stood near the end of the long hall, eagerly waiting to see whether the young dragon and his dragon rider would brave the portal in search of the tools needed to reach their potential. He had not been surprised when they had returned days ago. It had been quicker than anticipated, but there was never any doubt they would return. Forseti had told them they needed training if they were to become dragon and rider together. For Jackson to become a dragon rider, he explained there was no one alive that could guide them, but there was a way to gain the necessary training. Through the portal, they could enter the land of their ancestors and seek a book that, if read correctly, would help them prepare for the journey ahead. They did not know it, though Forseti thought Zero had an idea, but their destinies were intertwined not only with each other, but with the destiny of the whole of Kilqua. Zero looked at Forseti before turning back to the portal. As one, Jackson and his dragon stepped forward into the shimmering void. They were gone, and Forseti sighed. It had begun. There was a chance. Is it done then? Asked Draenoxius as he materialized beside Forseti. It is as you said it would be, replied Forseti. But is it the way it should be? You know what we face. We need dragon riders, said the old man. Need them? It is because of them that we are in this position to begin with. But you are too young to have experienced that, said Forseti. I am old, but you are right, too young for that, sighed Draenoxius. Will he find it? Draenoxius thought back to all he knew of Jackson Zero and Alan, Jackson's father. I would be surprised if he did not. He has a great ally in Zero, his only ally, really, but people do the most unlikely things at times. Still, the only reason he agreed to go is because he felt isolated, alone. He had nothing left here, nothing more than Zero. You saw to that, said Forseti. I did what I thought I must, said Draenoxius. Now it is up to Jackson and Zero to bring back the knowledge we need. I think he will succeed. He has to, or the world we know it will cease to exist. There ends Book 1 of the Dragon Honor series. And before I go, I want to read a couple chapters from Worth Lesson Zero. Like I said, it came out just last month. Very excited about this book. It took me a little longer to write it than I think it should, but I'm really excited what came out of Book 2, and it's going to set up a great Book 3. Anyway, Worth Lesson Zero, Chapter 1. Hauntingly beautiful lightning streaked out from the black clouds, always staying parallel to the horizon. The clouds, which held life-saving water, never let a drop fall over the sandy dunes in front of him. With his face covered except for a tiny slit for his eyes, Jackson watched the storm roll to the south with a faint smile on his lips. If he had seen those same clouds a month ago, just after he had come through the portal, he might have chased them over the horizon in hopes of conquering his thirst. The desert was a brutally efficient teacher, however. He now knew better than expending that much effort chasing the ghost of water. He stood on a rocky ridge overlooking the dune sea that stretched out before him. The sun was almost to the horizon, and though a sandstorm dulled its glow, the reddish evening light that did peek through added to the beauty of the dark clouds and lightning over the windswept dunes. He liked the desert just before dusk. It was as if the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for the coming night. The heat leached away slowly at first, then more quickly. Just as the sun touched the horizon, Jackson looked to the east. And that's all we're going to do right now. Thank you for listening to me, kind of blather on and then read a little bit. I'm really excited about where Jackson and Zero's adventure goes in Book 2. And then Book 3 is going to be a little different, but it's going to be extremely exciting and kind of edge of your seat type stuff. I look forward to you getting a chance to read it. And thank you so much for coming on to hear me read the Dragon's Honor series, the end of Book 1 and the beginning of Book 2, Worth Less Than Zero. Thank you.